D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan here with you on Thursday morning. Willie Donick will join us shortly. He's with the Predators in beautiful South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
They will take on the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers tonight. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5. Of course, right here on 1025, 1063 The Game. And before the show, Derek, Willie tweeted out a photo. Willie likes to take morning runs, morning jogs when he's on the road. And he sent us this picture. Blue skies, palm trees. Looks like a beautiful day in Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a big-ass Christmas tree. What did we talk about yesterday? Come on. At least make it a Christmas palm tree.
Yeah. This just sticks out like a sore thumb. It really does. You're right. It should have been a Christmas palm tree, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. But hey, it's Christmas in Florida, I guess.
At Willie D 1025, if you want to see the picture of the Christmas tree.
It looks fake. Well, it is fake. Is the tree fake? No, the tree's not fake.
I don't know.
But it just the whole setup looked fake. It looked Photoshop. Did Willie just Photoshop it just to make you mad?
I have this strange feeling that Willie doesn't know how to Photoshop. Willie seems like the kind of guy who takes pictures of his computer screen on his phone. He doesn't know how to take an actual screenshot. You know who also doesn't know how to take an actual screenshot? Joe Rexroad. Joe Rexroad would send me so many pictures of just a picture of his computer screen. I'm like, Joe, we have to teach you how to take a screenshot.
Okay.
Something tells me Willie also doesn't know how to take a screenshot.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
I'm going to be transparent here.
You don't know either.
I don't know how to do that either.
All right, we're scrapping.
No, I don't. Because I've never taken a screenshot of my screen, my computer screen with my computer. I've never done that. Never even tried to.
We're scrapping the first segment and we're going to do an on-air tutorial on how to take screenshots. Oh my goodness, guys.
Hey, I'm with my boy Willie. If he doesn't know how to do it, then he and we are the last of the Mohicans.
that
exactly.
is true. That is true. So this is not about Derek's inability to take a screenshot, but we need to have a talk.
Yes.
What? Yes. We'll do that during the break, but we need to have a talk. And let me tell you something. Nothing good ever follows the statement, "We need to talk."
Yeah, you're right.
I know that from experience. Broken up many a times.
And you get that feeling in your stomach. It's like, oh,
yes.
What do you want to talk about?
It's never good. Nobody has ever said, "We need to talk." Congratulations, you just got a promotion.
Yes.
We need to talk. Let's get married.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Nothing ever good comes after the statement, "We need to talk."
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about the Nashville Predators. The Predators lose last night 3-2 in Washington to the Capitals. Alex Ovechkin with the game-winning goal about halfway through the third period.
Mm-hmm.
The Predators fall to 4-8-1 on the season.
Mm-hmm.
They are, in terms of points percentage in the NHL, they are tied with the Philadelphia Flyers for the worst points percentage in the NHL. So the Predators are the worst team in the NHL. The Predators and the Flyers. And I heard some quotes after the game. I read some quotes after the game.
Mm-hmm.
I heard a lot about the Predators' effort in the game. They were pleased with their effort.
Mm-hmm.
They can build off of that effort. And it's always good, as you know, Derek, to put forth your best effort.
Yes.
You'd rather lose putting forth your best effort than losing in embarrassing fashion. The "we put in a good effort" train has left the station. At this point, it's not about effort. It's about winning hockey games.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, I don't want to hear about effort right now. I want to hear about them winning hockey games. And I see a team that is struggling to put the puck in the net at 5-on-5. Steven Stamkos, hallelujah,
Finally.
scored his first 5-on-5 goal as a member of the Nashville Predators last night. But this team is in a bad way. And the comments that Barry Trotz made on this station 2 days ago to Jared Stillman, those are spreading like wildfire around the NHL. We're not just talking about them here in Nashville.
Mm-mm.
It's a conversation in Canada, which, as you know, is a big deal. When the Predators are discussed by major sports outlets in Canada, like TSN, like Sportsnet, that's a big deal. And I'm watching this game last night, and I'm just wondering, what is it going to take for these Predators to get on track? Now, they're dealing with some injuries at the worst possible position they could be dealing with them in. At center, Tommy Novak was a late scratch last night. I believe Luke Evangelista was scheduled to be a healthy scratch for the first time, if I'm not mistaken, since that 9-2 loss to the Dallas Stars last season, which was in mid-February, the loss right before the franchise record point streak. But Novak was a late scratch, so Evangelista comes in. Colton Sissons suffered an upper body injury last night. He blocked a shot in the hand/wrist area, so he left the game last night. And now Colton Sissons hasn't had a great season, but he's an important player for this team. He does play a lot of important minutes. So your center depth was already an issue. Now you're down 2 of your centers. And I'm curious about how tonight's going to go. They're tired. They traveled late last night. They're injured. They're playing the defending Stanley Cup champions, who have not played in several days because last week they went to Finland, played 2 games in Finland. And usually what happens, Derek, is after you go on one of those trips, you get like several days off. So they haven't played, I think, since the weekend. It's been almost a week since the Panthers played. And I've got a bad feeling about this game tonight. I know last night was a 1-goal game. It was a tight game. I've got a bad feeling about this one. In the pit of my stomach, I think we could see a blowout tonight. I think the Panthers could blow out the Predators tonight. And just with everything that's been talked about over the past few days after Barry Trotz's appearance on Jared's show, it's getting late early. And I think it's becoming time for the Predators to do something significant to shake up this mix, because right now it's not working.
Yeah, it's not working, and you're trying to figure out why again. Because if you go back to what transpired last season and that youth that was brought up and how they played, you just assumed that, okay, we got something good here. If we just add a couple more pieces, we should be fine. That's what the thought was going into the offseason. You have the money to spend, so let's spend it on guys that we need. Let's spend it on goal scorers. And they did exactly that. But what they thought was going to happen and what is actually happening is 2 different things. Now, you can chalk it up early on to, okay, chemistry. We're not finding the chemistry. We got new players. It takes a minute for, them to get acclimated with the guys that were already here in the system. Yeah, you can have that as a reason. I'm not going to say excuse, because if somebody asks you why something happened, it's not an excuse. It's a reason. Whether it's valid or not, that's a different story. So that was their reasoning why, a part of the reasoning why this team started off the way they did. Now they are what? 14, 15 games in, somewhere around there?
They have played 13 games. They
13.
are 4-8-1.
Yep, 13 games in. Shouldn't there be some chemistry built now? Shouldn't there be, lines that obviously we know the first line is the first line, but every line after that, it's been sort of this constant change. they haven't been able to find a consistent line that they can stick with outside of the first line since the season started. I think they went with a standard line maybe once or twice in a row. Um, I could be wrong on that one, but it seems like they're changing, and you understand why they're changing because they're trying to find that right mix. Well, there may not be a right mix. There may not be a right combination. This is when you say, listen, and Barry's already said it. And now, listen, we discussed that yesterday. It's a breath of fresh air to see a GM talk that way. But sometimes, just sometimes, you need to dial it down just a tad bit, considering where your team. And I know you want a lot of fire under your team's backside, and coaches and GMs try every method to push buttons to see if they can get their team sort of energized. I get that. But then on the flip side, that you going in thinking you're energizing could have a negative effect on your team. You've already told everybody in the listening area, everybody that loves hockey, everybody that listens to the station, everybody that watch the Predators, those that like the Predators, that don't like the Predators. You've already told them that, listen, if y'all don't get it straight, I'm making some changes. And now, granted, I can't make potentially the changes that would probably, have a immediate effect because those guys are under contract and I can't move them. But I can make changes everywhere else. Okay, you've tried to make those changes already. You've tried to make some of these changes already with the line shifts and all that else, and it hadn't worked. So what do you do now as a head coach / GM? Because you've already put everybody on notice outside of the marquee players, outside of the guys that have these massive contracts. You put everybody else on notice. Now everybody walking around on eggshells. They are. Whether you say they aren't, when you tell an individual, listen, if y'all don't start winning, we're going to make some changes. Yeah, they are going to play hard, but they're still walking on eggshells like, man, what if I mess up? What happens then? Are you going to demote me? Are you going to trade me? Because I think it's bigger than just one or two guys. I really do believe it's bigger than one or two guys. This is a team issue, like a whole from top to bottom. This is a team issue. And until they figure that out and get it right, they're going to continue to have these same problems, no matter who they put in the lineup. A young guy from Milwaukee, it doesn't matter. Make a trade until you get it right as a team. You're going to continue to go through the same problems and issues that you're going through now. Because to me, your top line guys is not carrying your team. But you look into the secondary and the third guys to help elevate your team. No, your main guys are not playing the way that we are accustomed to seeing them play. They're not. And typically with good teams, your marquee guys are leading the way, and they're not leading the way, but there's nothing you can do about it. So you want to tell everybody else, hey, listen, if y'all don't get it straight, we're going to make some changes. Again, if you make the changes down there until these top tier guys get their act together, it's going to be the same thing over and over and over. Insanity. Doing the same thing, expecting different results. That's what it's going to end up being.
Predators fans gave this team grace last season, a grace period, because the Predators were upfront about what their expectations were for this team. But as we've said many times, when you spend $110 million in free agency and you bring in 3 of the top 5 free agents on the market this past summer, there's no grace. And that's where I am with this team. I'm giving them no grace period. This is an unacceptable start to this season. And I always have appreciated Barry Trotz's candor. You've talked about it. We've all talked about it. He is he is an anomaly.
Yes.
With how forthcoming he is on his team when he was a coach and now as a GM. And there's just something off with this mix. And as you've laid out, Derek, there is no easy solution because the players who are not performing, even if Barry Trotz wanted to make a move, which he does not want to, he has said he's not moving off of Roman Josi or Philip Forsberg or UC Saros. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't because of the trade protection in those players' contracts. They have full say over their situations. So there really is no simple solution. And that's the issue is, sure, you can take Michael McCarron out of the lineup and put in a player from the minor leagues. How much of a difference is that going to make? Probably negligible. And, I am really fascinated with the next few games and the next couple of weeks and where this team goes, because it's getting to a point where, look, I told you Predators fans when they were 0-5, you have my permission to panic. I'm not sure there are many Predators fans out there that right now that are thinking to themselves, it'll be fine, because 13 games, I know out of an 82 game season doesn't seem like a lot. Elliot Friedman, who joins us every Thursday, he'll be on with us at 1:00, has a great line. And he mentioned it to us last week. You can't win the Stanley Cup in October, but in November, but you can lose it by not being good enough to make the playoffs. David is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, with a comment on the Predators. David, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey guys, good morning. I agree with everything y'all are saying, and it's frustrating. But here's my gripe, and it's been the same thing for the last several seasons. Really, it's passing and puck control. I mean, it seems to me like our passing is usually weak and very imprecise. You look at the teams we're playing; their passing just floors me. I mean, why can't we do that with our talent? And then puck control. I love Forsberg, but he likes either do a fancy touch or something between the legs, and just it usually results in a turnover. And it just seems to me it's a little lazy. And I just wish that they would play with a little bit more precision, and that should be easily overcome. Anyway, thanks y'all. Hope you have a good day.
Thank you, David. Yeah, it's a good point. And one thing we've talked about, Derek, this season with the issues this team has had is there's been that disconnect in terms of moving the puck. We've talked about team speed, and team speed does not always mean how fast you skate, the miles per hour from one end of the ice to the other. It's about, as David laid out there, precision passing, pucks on stick, pucks on the tape from pass to pass. That just has not been there. And I expected there to be an adjustment, period, for the new players on the team. But what I did not expect was that the entire team would seem to revert back to what we saw at the beginning of last season, when they were all learning about Andrew Burnett's system and how it works. The majority of the players on this team should know how it works. And I get that you're trying to integrate some important players into that, but I thought there would be enough guys on this roster who know what they're doing that it wouldn't be as big of a problem as it appears to be.
It's a huge problem. Listen, I'm going to address that first, because I did want to get to something, because we gave our predictions at the beginning of the year in regards to the Nashville Predators. And one thing that I was vehemently saying was, listen, should this team be a top 10 power play team? And there was yes and there was no's. I vehemently said yes. They should be a top 10 power play team. I don't know where they're at now. They're not, it doesn't seem like they're high, because hell, look at their record.
They are 13th in the league on the power play.
Okay. So they're trending. Hopefully they're trending toward the top 10.
They're about where they were last year.
But when you add the firepower that they added, there should be an expectation. They didn't go get those guys because the Predators were, the best power play team in the league last year, so they just wanted to add extra guys to the mix. No, they went out and got them because they knew that they could improve their power play. Well, what has happened? They haven't improved their power play. not to a point where it's going to, get them wins, where it's securing them victories. This team, with the firepower they added, should be a top 10 power play team, but they are not. Listen, it's still a long season. I understand they can get there. At this moment, they're not. Here's the second thing in regards to the whole team as a whole. You just mentioned this, Adam. This team last year, how they played was totally different than how they're playing now. It's like they almost took a step back. And 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 I got a theory why I believe they're taking a step back. Because instead of saying, "Hey, listen, the train's moving, hop on, let's go," they said, "Let's slow the train down. Let's let them get on, and let's slow it down until they find their seats, until they put their luggage up, until they order their food. Let's slow the train down. And hopefully by the time they do all that, we'll be okay. Everybody be sitting comfortable." No, that's not the case. Get on the train, get your ass a seat, and let's go, because the train ain't stopping. We've built up some momentum from last season. The guys that were playing they built up a style. They know each other. Get on the train and let's go. We don't have time to be waiting. Y'all old enough to figure it out, but they've slowed the train down. Why slow a train down for guys that have been in the league a long time? Tell them to hop on the train and figure it out as we go. It seems like they've slowed everything down because they want to try to get these guys. We got to figure it out. We got to figure it out with them. Don't elevate some other guys and see how and then drop those guys until they figure it out.
615-737-1025. My question for all of you on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. What would you do? And be realistic.
Yeah.
Don't say trade Steven Stamkos, trade Brady Shea, because they can't be traded. What are some realistic things that you would do if you had the opportunity to try to fix whatever's going on with the Predators? Because it's really hard to comprehend just how poor this team has played this season. 615-737-1025. Derek Mason and Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
I can tell you as well, the Preds are in the market to add players too. I think they'd like, they've got an awkward mix right now. I mean, O'Reilly's essentially their number one center. They'd like someone to play with Stamkos, who's kind of on their second line right now at 5-on-5, and don't feel they have the right player to do that. But, I'm looking around at the date on the calendar, and I just know it's tough to make impactful trades. I mean, some of the guys we've seen move now are sort of, teams that are dumping that player to somewhere else in need. You're not dumping a second line center too often. So I don't know if Barry Trotz is going to be able to find that, but it's certainly must-see TV right now around the Preds.
That was NHL insider Chris Johnston on his podcast talking about the Nashville Predators. Certainly must-see TV around the Preds.
Yeah, I don't know if that's good or bad.
So we did get an interesting text from Ben in Cumberland City.
Thank you,
Ben. And I think Ben probably speaks for some Predators fans. So this is what Ben had to say. He said, Adam, I see everything on X and listen to all the shows on the station. First of all, thank you. And always shake my head at what I feel is premature panic. I've seen teams late in the year get it together and go on a run and make the playoffs. Am I wrong to say it's only November? Calm down, let them figure it out and work. Maybe a trade here or there, but we're not in as bad of shape as some. Well, first of all, you are the worst team in the NHL. So there are no other teams that are in worse shape. Well, let me rephrase. You're tied with the Philadelphia Flyers. They have an identical record. So you and the Flyers are the worst teams in the NHL. So there are teams that there are not teams in as bad shape. Well, except for one.
Yeah.
The other thing too is Barry Trotz is concerned. If the general manager of the team is concerned, I think it's right to be concerned. Barry Trotz is not coming on this station once a week and saying, it'll be fine. He is concerned. You hear it in the tone of voice. Jared has joked that he feels like he's becoming Barry Trotz's therapist because of the tone of the conversations they've been having over the past couple of weeks. So if the general manager of the team is concerned, I think Predators fans have the right to be concerned. Barry Trotz is not painting an optimistic picture of how things are going right now.
No, he's not. He came out and said what he had to say. And this is the second week that, he's been on with Jared, and he's alluded to, things that could potentially happen if this team doesn't get things in order. And it's not that we're panicking. We just understand, I believe, that you went out and the players that you added was supposed to help this team elevate itself. It hasn't been the case. And your own GM is telling you that. He said it in so many words.
Yes.
Like, listen, it's not working the way we thought it was going to work, and it needs to start working. And if not, there's going to be some changes. So when a GM says that, yes, he is in a sense, in a sort of, okay, we got some problems here. He's like Adam said, he's not painting everything rosy. I could see if he came on this station and painted everything rosy and said, we'll be okay. We're still in early November. We're figured out. No, that's not what he came on and said. He probably, like the players in the locker room, are like, listen, it's not working and we need to get it fixed. And if it doesn't get fixed quickly, then I'm going to have to make some changes. So I think right now is the time to, if you don't want to say panic, say be concerned. It's the time to be concerned. Now, what's your concern level? Some people may think, give them more time. Some people are on the other side, like, man, they need to do something. They need to do something quickly. But how long do you wait if you are in a GM? How many more games are you going to give your team to try to figure this out?
If I were in Barry Trotz's position, I would give them until the end of this road trip. So they play Florida tonight. I'm not talking about today. Because they come home, they play at Florida tonight. They come home, they play Utah on Saturday, and I believe then they go on the road for 5 games. By the end of that road trip, and I'm going to pull up the date I want to pull up the date of when that last game is. Hold on 1 second, everybody. So the last date of that, thank you. Yes, they play at Seattle on November 20th. So that's less than 2 weeks from now. That's about as much time as I give them to figure this out. I give them, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games over the next 2 weeks. That's how much time I give them.
Yeah, if you don't show if there's not any change in this team, or you don't see that this team is trending up, then you're going to have to make some changes. Well, I'm not going to say you're going to have to. You can continue to go status quo, but now you're rolling the dice big time. But if you want to see some immediate changes, something changed, then you're going to have to do something as a GM. Now, what that is and who you trade away, I don't know. That's not my job to figure out which guys you are going to dangle out there or which guys you're going to bring up from Milwaukee. That's not my job. But whatever you do, it needs to be done very quickly. And I think Barry understands that, because you don't want to get too far behind the pack. Because once you get too far behind the pack, you might as well forget it.
Another thing, too, to go back to Ben's text, another reason why I think it's reasonable to be concerned is that the Predators have lost the shot quality battle in all but 2 of their games this season at even strength. The only 2 games where they came out ahead in the shot quality battle were their win against the Bruins, which was their first win of the season, and the win against Colorado over the weekend, a shorthanded Colorado team. Every other game, they have been on the wrong side of the shot quality battle. So this is not a situation where the Predators are outplaying their opponents every single night and they're hitting 5 posts a game, although they did hit, I believe, 3 crossbars/posts last night. So there is some bad luck involved. I'll admit that. But this is not a situation where the Predators are outplaying their opponent every single night and the opposing team's goalie is standing on his head. They are losing the territorial battle in basically every game. So this is not a situation where it's all bad luck. There is some bad luck involved, but they are not playing complete hockey games. I mean, yes, the score last night was 3-2, but the Capitals carried the majority of the play. They got the better of the chances. And that has been the issue for most of the season. So if the Predators, as I said, they were 4-8-1, but they were running into the hottest goalie in the league every night, and they weren't able to score despite doubling up their opponents and scoring chances, I would say this is just an incredible run of bad luck. That's not what this is. This team is not playing well. This team has been the worst team more often than not in their game so far this season. So that is my long-winded way of answering Ben's text, and I understand what he's saying. Yeah. Am I wrong to say it's only November? If you are not as concerned as I am, that's okay. But based on all I know about watching hockey, this is not a good hockey team. And it's not an issue of to borrow the term. Yes. Pucks can bounce. The pucks can bounce. This is not an issue of the puck not bouncing their way. It has happened sometimes, sure. But mostly, this is them not playing well. And there's another thing I want to get to quickly, because we have a couple of texts to this effect.
Okay.
And I'm not surprised that we've gotten to this point. Let me find the text here. Let's see here. Basically, I can't find the text, but basically is, if you can't change the players, what can you change? You can change the coach. And Andrew Brunette, I think, is a good coach. I'm not advocating for his dismissal yet. But I one of the texters pointed out what happened with the Edmonton Oilers last year. The Edmonton Oilers got off to a terrible start. So the Predators are 4-8-1, right? The Oilers were 3-9-1 last season when they fired their coach, Jay Woodcroft. They were actually 2-9-1, and then he coached one more game and he won that game. But he was like a dead man walking in that last game, basically. Everybody knew he was going to get fired because I think they were on a road trip. So they were 3-9-1 when they fired Jay Woodcroft and replaced him with Chris Knobloch. The rest of the way, they went 46-18-5. I believe they had the best record in the NHL from the point they hired Chris Knobloch to the end of the regular season, and they made it to within one win of the Stanley Cup. I'm not saying if the Predators were to fire Andrew Brunette today, the same thing would happen. But we know in the NHL, more than any other league, coaches get fired very quickly. Now, I believe Alex Darty of the Tennessean, who had a conversation with Barry Trotz after Barry spoke to Jared, threw cold water on any idea that Andrew Brunette was in trouble. And I think that's fine. I am not calling for Andrew Brunette to be fired. But, and also keep in mind, I think Barry Trotz has, more than any other person in his position, would understand the coaching dynamics and all of that stuff, because he was a coach. And not only was he a coach, he was a great coach. One of the best coaches in league history, in my opinion. So I think he might exhibit more patience. But the texter is right. I mean, if you're looking for a seismic shakeup and you can't trade one of your marquee players, the easiest thing to do is fire the coach. And I don't think we're there yet. But if this team is still struggling by that 2-week mark, I think it's time to start having that conversation.
I'm not sure. I get what you are saying in regards to that. Like, once we get past that that demarcation sort of point, then you got to start making decisions, or you got to start thinking about things like truly, like thinking about, ground level sort of franchise things, because you went out and you did all of this in free agency, and this team is no better than what they were. Actually, they're worse than what they were last year. I wouldn't, no matter how bad it got, unless he just lost the locker room, I wouldn't make a change with the head coach. Why? Because this is the same head coach that got those guys to play last year.
And he is a good coach.
Yeah, so whatever he's doing, it works, but it just hadn't been able to hit home to some of these guys. See, I think this was what people don't realize about sports, and mainly team sports outside of, let's say, basketball, because basketball is a team sport. But really, if you got 2 or 3 good guys, like all world guys, then you can overcome a lot of deficiencies. You can overcome a lot of bad play because you have those 3 guys. But in team sports, just because you add marquee players doesn't mean you then become a marquee team.
Correct.
Just because you add 40 goal scorers doesn't mean you automatically become a team that's going to score 4 or 5 goals a game. It doesn't work that way. As much as we want it to work that way, as much as I want it to work that way, I understand it doesn't work that way. So the coaches has to find a way. This team played better last year. Why? Because there wasn't this sense of, okay, we got to make sure we get these 4 or 5 guys into the game while sacrificing the other guys. Last year, they played from bottom to top. They all played together. It doesn't seem like they're all playing together right now. It just doesn't, at least to me. So just because you add guys that have been in the league a long time, just because you add guys that are goal scorers, just because you add guys that are winners, doesn't mean it's going to mesh the way you want to. Sometimes you are better with the old team than you are the new team.
For me, it's, and I want to clarify this, because I'm sure people are going to take what I said and run with it as it relates to Andrew Brunette. I think Andrew Brunette is a really good coach. When he was an interim coach with the Florida Panthers, when Joe Quenneville resigned, he helped lead that team to the President's Trophy. He coached, I think, 75 of the 82 games and led the team to the President's Trophy. Last season, he was a finalist for Coach of the Year. I think he's a really good coach. My point is that with the situation that the Predators are in, if they are going to make a significant change to capture their players' attention, because it's harder, you can't fire the players, and you can't easily trade one that would make a difference. You hope you can go out and find a second line center. But if that proves difficult, really the only thing you have left to do is fire the coach. And I don't think Barry Trotz is going to do that. He has said as much to Alex Darty of the Tennessean. But if this team limps through the next 2 weeks and is falling way behind in the playoff race, I mean, that might be the only way to get their attention. And that's all I'm saying. But I think that Brunette is a good coach. Clearly, they're playing for him. This is not a situation of the team quitting on him or anything like that. But when you have limited options to make big moves to capture your team's attention and say, hey, what you're doing right now is unacceptable. In the NHL, we have seen teams do this. And last season's Oilers were a perfect example of making a change of coach. I'm not there yet. I am not there yet. But if this team continues to futz around as it has for the past month, I mean, I think it's worth having a conversation about. 615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your thoughts on this. Remember, silly underdog picks coming up at noon. If I could fire myself from silly underdog picks, I would, because, man, I stink. But we'll get to that at noon, but we'll continue to take your thoughts and texts on the Predator. 615-737-1025. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game.
November 9th, mark your calendars and get ready to feel the thrill at the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show, which is going to be here at the fairgrounds this Saturday, November 9th, as female riders from all over the world will be in attendance. Come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sports bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com. That's IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by our friends over at Law Tigers. Enjoy a day of live music, vendor village, tasty foods, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with the paid ticket. So get your tickets today. The Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com, which is coming to the fairgrounds this Saturday, November 9th, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. Can't wait to see you there.
D-Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here, continuing to take your thoughts on the Nashville Predators, who lost last night 3-2 to the Washington Capitals. They are back in action tonight against the Florida Panthers. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5 on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Ben in Cumberland City, whose text I was reading last segment, texted back in. He said, my concern level is lower due to the caliber of players we have. Honestly, I don't like Trotz coming out and showing anxiety. I appreciate the honesty, just feel it's early. A lot can happen fast in the NHL. That is true. A lot can happen fast. And as I pull up the standings, the Predators are the worst team in the Western Conference at 9 points. The team holding the last playoff spot currently, the St. Louis Blues, they have 14 points. So the Predators are down 5 points. Now, 5 points in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot of points. But as I was saying to Derek during the break, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams in between the Predators and the Blues. And it's an interesting mix of teams. Utah, Edmonton, Colorado, Chicago, Seattle, Anaheim, and San Jose. Now, should we expect the Predators to be better than the Sharks at some point this season? Absolutely. Same with the Ducks, probably the Kraken as well. But Edmonton, Colorado, you have to jump a lot of these teams. It's not just getting those points. You have to hope the teams in front of you struggle at the same time. And look, what the Predators did last season, points in 18 consecutive games, 16-0-2. It was fabulous to watch. Mm-hmm. You can't bank on that happening again because it's rare that a point streak like that happens. So it's not just about getting back into the playoff race. Well, it is. But you have multiple teams to jump in front of. And you have to hope that while you're playing better, they're also playing worse.
Yes, and you can't, only thing you can do is take care of what you can take care of. You can't hope and wish that the teams in front of you start to lose. That's why it's better to, have a good start to your season, because now you're in the midst with everybody else. You're in the middle of the pack. Even if you had won, say, 2 or 3 more games, you're still in the middle of the pack, which is a good thing. But when you're at the bottom trying to play catch up, it's not only do you have to do your job, then you have to hope, which, listen, hope in sports, if you're hoping all day in sports, you're going to always be a loser. But you got to hope that those teams in front of you start, as you're winning, they're losing. Can it happen? Absolutely, it can happen. But you don't want to always bank on that. You don't want to always say, remember what they did last year. They were, this is how they started and they end up going on a run. Yeah, that was last year. That was a different team. They have different players now. The expectations are a lot different than they were last year. That team can go on a run last year because they had no pressure. There was no pressure for this team. Nobody picked them to go to the playoffs. Even the GM was like, listen, y'all got to have some patience with us. We're working through this. Everybody knew this. So as a former athlete, I'm telling you, there's no pressure when that is what's being put out. That is the narrative. There's no pressure. So now I can go and just do my job. But now, because the expectations are up now, it seems as if this team has shrunk some. I don't know why. Because you added better players.
You added champions. Yes. You didn't just add better players. You added better players who are champions.
Absolutely. So that's why I'm baffled. That's why Adam's baffled. That's why I know Willie and Chris Mason is baffled. Jared's baffled. Everybody on this station that follows this team very closely, everyone's like, what's going on? Because y'all spent the money. Y'all went out and got some really good players, some winning players, some championship players, but yet the product looks totally different and not in a good way from last year.
615-737-1025. We'll talk more hockey later. Elliot Freeman will join us at 1 o'clock. We'll get into the Titans and Chargers in the next hour, but coming up next, it's time for Silly Underdog Picks. The commissioner, Willie Donick, will join the program. And Chris Sanders, he's fine, I guess. And Chase, he's also good. Goodness. Chase is better because he pays me. Chris is, Chris is hit or miss. Well, we will get to that next. Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
There's no need to fear. Underdog is here.
D. Mays, Fingen, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Derek Mason and Adam Vingen live in studio. It is time for the silly underdog picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket, which means we're going to take a trip down to South Florida, where we have our commissioner.
Willie, oh Willie D, Willie D. Ooh, Willie, oh Willie D.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to Silly Underdog Picks. Another session here in the 30th anniversary, a contest that dates back to 1994, which would make it
I believe it makes it the Pearl anniversary.
the Pearl anniversary. And I'm coming at you today from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where it is about 85 degrees. We are right on the beach. And it is such a tease because we got in at 3 a.m. last night. 3 a.m. It is not exactly a puddle jumper from Washington, D.C. to Fort Lauderdale, just so the league knows. Yeah, you take those little short planes when you're just hopping over from one city to another. You got back-to-back games. It was a over 2-hour flight to get there. So not an easy day, but we did try to get a little bit of flavor outside. So
I saw that Christmas tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's going on with the Christmas tree, the giant Christmas tree on November the 6th, or whatever we are, 7th, I guess. What's going on with that?
They didn't get the memo. They did not get our memo. The Christmas stuff
Not
is
respecting
not
Thanksgiving.
supposed exactly. It's not supposed to come out until after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, it's a
So
shame.
as the commissioner,
Hey,
with
it's a
my
free country.
powers.
They can put it up whenever they want.
Well, okay, so let's get the panel's opinion here. We are joined by the suit, Chase McCabe, and of course the Forever Titan, Chris Sanders, in our competition. So let me start with Chris. Chris, I'm sure you get into the Christmas spirit. You're a peppy, positive guy. What are your thoughts on celebrating Christmas music and Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving?
I think it's pretty cool, man. I mean,
Hang up on him. Hang up on him.
No, you see how
I love it.
I think it's really cool, guys. I think it's really cool, guys.
Hold on, man. I did not say, "Hey, buddy, hey, it feels wonderful."
I think it's pretty cool, guys. Come on, put them out.
Hey, I still listen to Boys II Men's Christmas album, and that's on the real. I listen to Boys II Men's Christmas album.
Chris lives every day like he's Buddy the Elf.
Come on, man.
Hey, Chris, do you have your Christmas tree up?
Yeah. Hey,
Wow.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't.
Okay,
I'm just still trying to get the leaves out of my grass.
They are falling. They are falling.
Man.
All right, so Chase, how do you feel about the situation here? This is a big topic on our station right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have my tree up, and I haven't really listened to a ton of Christmas songs yet, but I'm not necessarily skipping them if they pop up. So I kind of think it's whatever you want. There should not be a hard, fast rule if it's before Thanksgiving. If it makes you feel good to listen to Mariah Carey, "All I Want for Christmas Is You," which I know Derek is going to be doing here very soon.
Absolutely. I'm already, hey, Chase, I'm already watching Hallmark movies, so I'm in the mood. But I am not putting up a Christmas
Hallmark
tree
movies.
until after Thanksgiving. Yeah, Hallmark movies. Come on.
Derek has already got Hallmark on. He's watching Becky Saves Christmas or whatever it is.
Or Benji.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Whatever. We live in a world where everybody wants to. You can do this. You can't do this, or whatever. Do what you want. Just be happy. That's what I say.
Please. But if I see your Christmas tree up, I'm gonna take a bulb off. I'm gonna take a bulb off. A Christmas ornament. I'm gonna take it off and lay it on the ground.
I'm gonna rename this show Three Grinches. That's what I'm about.
I know, man.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
Exactly.
No, Chris, we gotta work. We gotta work on their hearts, man. We gotta
know, man.
Christmas spirit.
Well, just check our Twitter because it's been retweeted by 1025 The Game. But I tweeted out a picture of an absolutely enormous Christmas tree on a 85-degree day at the beach here in Fort Lauderdale.
Right
So
next
they are
to a
not
couple of
protected.
palm trees. Let's also set that
Hang
scene
on.
as well.
Palm trees
Hang
all
on,
surrounding.
Willie, you mean to tell me that you tweeted something and 1025 The Game retweeted it and you didn't have to text me to retweet it for you? I'm impressed. I am very
Well,
impressed.
I'm impressed with whoever did it. Because I didn't do it, and they quote tweeted, and they agreed with me. They agreed with me.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get to the competition. The underdog pick pennant race is going on. We're starting to come down the home stretch here as we move in to the second week in November. Chase McCabe had the first pick. Now, Chris Sanders has been leading the competition right out of the gate because he jumped on the Commodores bandwagon very, very early when they beat Virginia Tech, and he has really not looked back. But Chase has come around. He has taken the Commodores 2 weeks in a row. And as we started week 10, he took the Commodores as a 7-point dog at Auburn. Vanderbilt had never, ever won in Auburn's home stadium, 0-9. They had only beaten Auburn in Birmingham. Not anymore. Vanderbilt has beaten Auburn 17-7, as most of you know. Diego Pavia famously now 3-0 against Hugh Freeze, and Chase picks up 7 points. So, Chase, your perseverance with the Doors pay off.
Anchor down, baby.
Who's your daddy?
Hey, Chase, what place you in?
Hey, Chris, just keep looking in the rear view, man. Just keep looking in the rear view mirror because I'm coming for you.
Objects are closer than they appear. Objects are
on the
closer
same
than they
side.
appear, Chris. That's what Chase is saying.
He's on your back. You can smell his breath right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
So the lead is down to 8.5. We'll get to the rest
don't
of the
get
competition.
scared, Chris. Don't get scared.
Adam had the next pick. He went with a traditional ACC rivalry that goes back, well, it might be the first time they've ever
To last
played
week.
in the same, yeah, to last week. Pittsburgh, a 7.5-point dog, going down to Dallas to take on SMU.
Oh, my
the
goodness.
Mustangs, too much for the Pitt Panthers. And this is the game that has title game implications. SMU pounds the Panthers 48-25, dropping Adam to 1-9.
Hey, Willie, you said it dates back to last week.
It's so dumb, these new schools in the ACC. What is going on?
They both got what they deserve. quite
Exactly.
frankly.
Oh man, that was funny.
Hey, Adam.
Yes, Chris.
Hey, what place you in?
I'm tied with D Mace.
Why am I catching strays here? I didn't say anything.
Yeah, what is going on here?
You talking about my Christmas tree?
Oh my goodness, the lack of a Christmas tree,
This is
Chris.
this is what happens. You let Chris get out front, and he
it's
just gets
over.
cocky. Like, I mean,
Hold up, time
by
out.
the way,
Derek was awful last year, man. Derek was awful last year. He didn't even like the kids.
Yeah, you're right. I was gonna be the same way
that's
this year.
true.
It ain't over with
true.
yet.
by the way, Lorenzo O'Neill was on the show this morning.
I heard,
and bootleg preacher over here.
He no good one. See, I wish I had came in early so I can that bootleg preacher, boy, I tell you. Boy, he got a bottle of Ripple in one hand and a Bible in the other.
Well, that brings us to D Mace, former teammate of Lorenzo O'Neal. He took his beloved Michigan State Spartans for a
that
second
wasn't
straight
bad.
week.
That wasn't
He went all in on the Spartans in week 9, and they lost in the big house to Michigan, but they played a decent game.
good. Mhm.
No, they didn't.
Last week, they
They
had
did their best.
a chance to host
They tried really hard.
Indiana,
Mhm.
undefeated, top 10 ranked Indiana. Yes, Indiana football. And D-May said, my Spartans will not let me down 2 weeks in a row as 8-point dogs. Final score, Hoosiers 47, Spartans 10. What happened?
Who's your
Hey,
daddy?
Paso.
Narrators, they let him down.
Yeah, they let me down big time, but I'm still rolling with my Spartans. I'm bleed green and white, so
Go
hey,
green.
go white. But they did put a shellackling to us, man. It was bad.
It was a shellackling.
Yeah, it was
And
bad.
then Indiana.
Just Google the
legit.
coach. He say, just Google me. I win. That's all I do. And he's right. That's all he do is win.
That is the
I like
word. And Indiana is very much in the playoff picture here. So D-Mace and Adam tied for third. So the good news, guys, is if we were to have the medal ceremony at the Olympics, you guys would be on the medal stand tied for the bronze. You guys would both select the bronze.
That's because there's only four of us, and he and I are tied. So,
Right.
will we do a coin toss to see who gets to stand up on stage?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Oh man.
So speaking of the Big Ten, Chris Sanders
Yes.
trying to add to the lead. He selected, and this was very controversial, and D-Mace just gave it to him big time. He took Michigan, the arch rival, the hated nemesis of his beloved Ohio State Buckeyes, a 14.5-point home dog against the Big Ten leader, Oregon, number 1 in the country, and karma caught up to Chris. It was 38-17 Ducks. They rolled in the big house, so Chris stays at 38. So, Chris, do you feel a little guilty for picking Michigan?
No. I
he's
gotta
gonna
ask
pick
the
him
question.
again.
Oh, yeah. See, y'all done stole my pick. But hey, Chris, what place you in? Oh, I'm in first.
So Chris Sanders still in first place. The people had a pick as well, and I was totally with the people on this. They took Arkansas. It was Mike that represented the people. Arkansas, a 7-point home dog against Ole Miss. And wow, Ole Miss figured something out. They scored 63 in Fayetteville. 63. And the final score was 63-31. It wasn't even that close. And so the people dropped to 3-6 with 11.5 points. Another chance for you as a member of the people to represent in our next segment. And Adam, do we have a prize laid out?
We do have a prize. If you are correct in representing the people, you will win a pair of tickets to see Daryl Hall at the Ryman on Tuesday, November 19th.
There we go.
Okay, somebody's got to win for the people to see Daryl Hall.
Those tickets have just been sitting there. If you want to see Daryl Hall, be the representative of the people.
You can't say it like that, though.
What if John Oates called in and represented the people and won tickets to see Daryl Hall? We would have a national story, wouldn't we?
Oh, that would be fantastic. He lives
That would
here.
be awesome. So if anybody knows John Oates, who I think lives in Nashville, that would be awesome.
Y'all crazy.
Let's challenge John Oates to make a picture of you.
What do you deck the hall?
Oh, I like it. Yeah.
Well
Play on
played.
words. I like it.
Well played. All right, let's go to week 11. The first pick belongs to Adam Vingan.
My first season in this competition has not gone well. I only have the one win. Thank you, Vanderbilt. I'm not going Vanderbilt though. I've got to look somewhere over the rainbow. That's right. I'm going to Honolulu, Hawaii.
You stink.
I'm going. I'm going to Honolulu, Hawaii, where the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors are 13.5-point home dogs to UNLV. I will take the Rainbow Warriors plus 13.5.
All right, I'm going to ask the suit real quick. Who is quarterbacking for UNLV? I have not followed the quarterback guy who basically bailed on his team because he wasn't getting paid his NIL promises.
I think
he's gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he gone.
Yeah, he been going, Willie.
He gone.
But how is the next guy done? Has the next guy done okay, or are they paying that guy? What's happening there?
Yeah, I think his name is like Hajj Malik Williams. Something like that. I mean, they've only lost 2 games, so they've been pretty good.
Yeah,
and I'm hopeful they're about to lose 3.
Yeah,
Give me Hawaii.
Really hoping that guy struggles. So Hawaii is a 13.5-point home dog against the running Rebels of UNLV at 6-2.
Did I take Chris's pick?
Yes, you did.
Merry Christmas, Chris.
Good.
Merry Christmas
and Happy New Year.
I believe there's a Hallmark movie playing right now.
Hallmark movies, you gotta love them.
Yeah. All right, let's go to D-Mace, tied for third with Adam Vingan. A big-time rivalry going on in the studio right now. These two are going head-to-head. They're already mad at each other because Adam picked Michigan State earlier in the season, let him down. The other Derek Mason let Adam down. So this is the kind of rivalry stuff that this competition thrives on. So let's see what D-Mace has here.
Go green, go white. Summer loving, had me a blast. I love that song. Gosh, I love that song. All right, there's not too many games this week. Any that's going to push the needle anyway. So with much little fanfare, I am going to go the Mountaineers of West Virginia over Cincinnati. It's a 5-point spread. Was that your pick, Chris? I mean, Chase?
No, that's too conservative.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. But I think that's interesting.
Okay, so I just need points, man. I could have picked Texas, but I'm not Chris. I'm not looking for, just pick some outrageous game.
That reaction from Chase, by the way, when you go to a restaurant and you order something and the server says, that's a great choice, and you feel much better about yourself. Chase didn't say that with my pick, but with Derek's, he goes, that's interesting. I'm just like, that doesn't bode well for me.
Chase must put some scratch on that one. He and Ricky must put some scratch on that one, man.
Well, I can't see with Ricky. I can't bet against the Bearcats. He's Cincinnati through and through.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
West Virginia is a 5-point dog at Cincinnati in another big-time rivalry in the Big 12 that goes back to, well, I don't know if they've ever played as members of the Big 12. That brings us to Chris Sanders, the leader in the competition with 3 big wins, and has him in the lead. He can taste another championship. Let's see what he's got.
Oh no. I don't care where you are from. I don't. I hope you go away. I hope you're losing all your games. You should. Nobody loves you in this contest. No one. Lose the remainder of your games and we may just like you.
Well, guess what? This is my pick, and this is gonna break all y'all's back. This is gonna be the game changer. It's over.
Does Emsworth play NBA this week? So you're picking
Take
Emsworth.
this.
You cannot take a high school team in the competition.
So I'm going with. Dang it.
You're going with dang it?
Yeah, I'm going with Middle Tennessee over Liberty. Let's go. Plus 18.
It's actually 11, but okay.
I'm just trying to change it.
I see 11 and a half.
Only Chase would know that off the top of his head. But Middle
'cause Chase
Tennessee,
might have been
I have
looking at
an
it,
11-point dog for Derek Mason's Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders at 3-6 against 5-2 Liberty.
I hate this. I really do hate this. I mean, I got a dilemma here. I really do have a dilemma because I like Coach Mason and I want him to win, but I dislike Chris in this competition.
Hey, he's got the best name in America, right? D-May. See, it's the same.
I can't. Oh man, I hate this. Damn.
Cheers, homie. Say, way to go. Come on. Cheers.
Gosh. Man,
what about the kids?
Damn them kids, man. You know how I feel.
Damn them kids.
Exactly. You know how I feel.
Put that on the t-shirt.
All right, the final pick.
Hold on, Willie, I'm sorry, but hold on. People,
okay,
I don't really mean damn the kids like I don't like kids. Because I don't want people out there saying, well, Derek don't like the kids. No.
Yeah.
No, keep safe your chest, Steven.
Hey, Adam.
Yes.
Adam. Will somebody please think of the children?
Absolutely.
All right, now a big pick. Chase McCabe chipping away at the lead of Chris Sanders. He's within 8.5 points. He has the most wins in the competition, but remember, you get the points that your underdog is. If you're new to the competition, your underdog must win outright. No points for a cover. And so if they win, you get the points. So let's see what Chase has up his sleeve.
Behold the king of kings. On your knees, dog.
All right, so you said I'm 8.5 back.
Correct. Chris with 38, Chase 29.5, Adam and D-Mace 13.5.
All right. We're just chipping away. That's just what we've been doing. Hey, hang on. I'm getting another call. Let me grab this. Coach Lee, what's going on? Yeah, we did it last week. That's right. You want to run it back? You want to run it back? 3 in a row? Let's do it. Anchor down. Give me the Commodores at home.
Anchor down.
I was wondering.
Okay.
Hey,
The Vanderbilt
it's not
Commodores.
go ahead.
The Vanderbilt
Vanderbilt
Commodores.
in their comfortable spot of being a home dog, 4.5 points this week against South Carolina, who is 5-3, and coming off an absolute throttling of Texas A&M. That was a team that was undefeated in SEC play until they went to Columbia, South Carolina. So the Gamecocks are playing good ball. So Vanderbilt, a 4.5-point home dog. Chase takes the doors for the third straight week. Vanderbilt has been picked the most of any team in the competition, and that's saying something because there have been some popular schools. But
How many times do you know the number?
Well, let's see. There's 11 weeks. Vanderbilt has been picked the last 3 by Chase.
I picked them once.
You picked them in week
I picked
7
them
against
first.
Kentucky.
On the first week.
Yep. Chris Sanders had them with their win over Virginia Tech. Chris Sanders famously skipped over them when they were the big dog against Bama, and I thought he was going to take them, and he didn't do it. So that's how many. So that's 5 times Vanderbilt has been picked in the competition.
Willie, as my good friend Rick Merritt says, home dogs bark louder. Come on, Commodore.
All right. So let's recap the picks from week 11 as we wrap up the competition for this week. Adam Vingan trying to move up, selects, he tries to double his points. He takes Hawaii, a 13.5-point home dog against the Running Rebels of UNLV. Let's see if Adam finds a way to watch that game. D-Mace takes West Virginia, a 5-point dog at Cincinnati in a key Big 12 matchup. Chris Sanders selecting the local squad. Derek Mason's Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, an 11-point home dog against Liberty. And then finally, Chase McCabe, trailing by 8.5 to Chris Sanders, who is the leader. He goes once again to the well and takes Clark Lee's Vanderbilt Commodores, a 4.5-point home dog Saturday afternoon against South Carolina. The people will pick on the other side. So thank you for joining us once again for Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Gentlemen, good luck.
And
I hope all of y'all lose. I'm just saying. Hope all of y'all lose.
All right.
I love
That's
y'all.
you, Derek.
Yeah, I love y'all. Happy Christmas.
Where's the Christmas spirit? There's no Christmas spirit here.
Look at Adam. He's just like serious.
We'll get the people's pick. On the other side, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, Willie Donick, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Deuces.
All right, let's talk Loan Pronto. And as we look ahead to 2025, there may be some of you out there that are looking for ways to improve your financial position. If you've got high interest loans and you're a homeowner, and that interest rate on some of those loans, whether it's a credit card bill or a car payment or something like that, are just eating up your budget every month, think about Loan Pronto and their Express Equity line of credit program. It's outstanding. They can get you on better financial footing, and they can do it in a hurry, as little as 5 days. So call right now and get the free quote and ask about the program, because you can access up to 90% of your home's equity, and you can get cash out of your home and then attack those bills one by one. And then January 1st, you're feeling much better about where things are going because your mortgage rate's going to be better. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063 the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. It's time to get the people's pick on Silly Underdog Picks presented by Volunteer Hose and Gasket. Our friend Mark has called in to participate in the competition. Mark, welcome back. Who are you selecting this week?
Hey, how y'all doing? Them tickets are getting kind of dusty right now, right?
We
They've
need
been
you to
sitting
win.
down there
Come
a
on.
long time.
It's up to you, Mark.
Exactly.
Let me see. I think I'm gonna go. I know Ole Miss is an underdog to Georgia this week at home, so I think I'm gonna go with Ole Miss and Georgia. I'm gonna go with Ole Miss.
Okay.
All right. Ole Miss is a
Thank you, Mark.
3-point home dog against the Georgia Bulldogs, and Ole Miss coming off a really sharp performance where they put up 63. Could be a pretty intriguing matchup here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with that, Willie. Willie, you know I still ain't got my miracle water yet, though. But, hey man, I've been waiting on it. Willie, I've been waiting on it.
If a 3-point dog wins,
$50,000 check, man. I mean, you doing commercials for Loan Pronto and all that. Where's Mark's check at, man? I mean, I need that miracle water, Willie.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, you know what, Mark, I am in Florida, and there are a lot of so-called miracle workers around me, so maybe I'll run into one before the game starts tonight.
Yeah, just go to the store and grab your old mason jar and go dip it in the ocean and just bring it back to me, Willie. We'll be
okay. Okay, I can fulfill that request.
Oh man.
Hey, it was good talking to you, Willie. Hey, D Mace, love y'all, man. Adam, my guy, man. So, yeah, that's the pick I'm gonna roll with. So, you know what I really like to do? What I really like to do is come in that studio and host a show with you, D Mason, and Willie one day. That's what I'd really like to do.
I'll take the day off. That's fine.
Adam said, "You give me the day off, a paid
Gotta talk to the
leave.
suit.
Got to talk to the suit first."
We'll work something out, Mark. We'll work something out.
Yeah, ratings would go up. I'm the people's choice, man. I speak for the people.
D-Mace.
I got
Missed
plenty
shot.
to say. I got plenty to say.
I know you do, Mark. Thanks for calling, man. Always appreciate it.
it,
Good
man.
luck this week.
Yeah, y'all have a good day, man.
Yeah.
We'll see if Mark can win those tickets to see Daryl Hall at the Ryman on Tuesday, November 19th. So, in researching the Titans and Chargers for this weekend, I was amazed by the number of ex-Titans players who are on the Los Angeles Chargers.
I
You
didn't
have
realize it either.
Elijah Molden. You have Bud Dupree. You have Christian Fulton. You have Tierre Tart, who
Yes.
blocked a field goal last week. You have Hassan Haskins. And everybody's favorite, Dez Fitzpatrick, is also a member of the LA Chargers, I learned today.
Wow.
So a
I
lot
know
of
he was in
Not
the
heard
league.
that name in a long
Yeah,
time.
me either.
It's like when Obi-Wan Kenobi, or he's going by Ben Kenobi, and Luke says, have you heard of Obi-Wan Kenobi? He says, now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. That's Dez Fitzpatrick. When was the last time you heard the name Dez Fitzpatrick?
Now, was Dez Fitzpatrick a member of those failed 2020 through 2022 draft classes, Willie?
He might be in there. He might
Yeah,
have been
I think
before that,
so.
actually.
It might have
Let
been
me
a
see.
year before that, maybe 19,
Either way,
18.
an illustrious career.
Whenever Amon St. Brown was drafted, that's when.
Okay. Yeah, you're right.
2016.
Yeah,
Let's see.
2016.
Is that right?
Dez Fitzpatrick was 2016. That
No,
can't be
I think
right.
that's 2019. I think it is
It's
2019.
2019.
He
Fourth
was
round of the 20. No, he's in the
20,
infamous
2021.
2021.
Wow,
Yep,
another
he's in there.
failed draft pick.
But this is not a conversation about Dez Fitzpatrick.
Yeah,
Nobody
yeah.
wants to relive those memories. But
And by the way, he has not made a catch for the Chargers. So if he is on the Chargers,
I think he's on
he
the I think he's on the practice squad.
Yeah,
so
he
he's
must be,
he's collecting a paycheck
Yeah.
from the LA Chargers, but he has not been
Elevated.
active. I don't believe in any game. But I want to focus on Elijah Molden specifically. So Elijah Molden is playing well for the Chargers. He's appeared in 8 games. He's started 5. He's played roughly 70% of the snaps. He has 3 interceptions this season. He had 1 interception in his Titans career. His 3 interceptions leads the Chargers. It would be tied for the team lead on the Titans with Amani Hooker. And the reason I bring up Molden specifically, It's about a larger conversation.
Mhm.
And I heard Jared and Joe arguing about this yesterday on Jared versus Joe. And it's a conversation I think we've had at various points throughout this on the station throughout the season about this idea of why Titans players who go to other teams play better than they did when they were on the Titans. Now, I'm excluding, for the purpose of this conversation, I am excluding Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins because we would all agree both of them are good players. They were
Yeah.
going to be good no matter where they went.
Exactly.
They found excellent situations. Derrick Henry in Baltimore, DeAndre Hopkins in Kansas City. There may not be a better fit for either of those players than the teams they ended up on. I'm thinking of like the depth players, to borrow a term also used on this station, the Scarbinis,
Mhm.
as they were. Elijah Molden, he was traded for a 7th round draft pick. If you're listening, I want you to do this exercise. If you're driving, I want you to keep 2 hands on the wheel. Raise your hand if you were upset the day the Titans traded Elijah Molden to the Chargers for a 7th round pick. And I want to be clear about this. You were upset that they traded him because you liked Elijah Molden, not because the Titans needed depth in the secondary and Molden was a warm body. Raise your hand if you were upset the day the Titans traded Elijah Molden for a 7th round pick. I'm going to guess that the majority of you are not raising your hands right now. And he's been playing well for the Chargers. That's great. I just think it leads to that sort of conversation about how much should we put into this idea that the Titans are having an issue developing players or getting the best out of players because they're going to other teams, Derek, and performing well.
That is just a farce. It really is, because this is what happens, and we all are guilty of it. We pick out things that sort of agrees with our narrative. So we just cherry pick certain things, and we all do it. So I'm not saying that it's good nor bad, but we all do it. To further our point, we'll pick out one isolated incident or 2 or 3. But when you look at the whole picture, I'm just going to throw names at you. Rashad Evans, what is he doing? Probably nothing. Danton Krushak, what is he doing? Probably nothing. Nate Davis, what is he doing? Probably nothing. Isaiah Wilson, well, we know what transpired with him. Monty Rice, he went to another team, I know. Dez Fitzpatrick, he went to another team. I could just continue to go down the line. Corey Davis, who they released, he went to another team. Or Dory Jackson, who they chose not to, he went to another team. Taywan Taylor, he's not in the league anymore. Jonnu Smith went to another team, free agency. He's not doing any better with he's on his 3rd team now.
We did also, by the way, I forgot to mention, another ex-Titans player that they recently saw who did very well against them was Khalif Raymond against the Lions.
Khalif Raymond.
Just as Malik Willis did well against the Titans with the Packers at the beginning of the season.
Exactly. So my point is this. There are more guys that went other places that didn't do well than there is those cherry pick ones that everybody want to pull out. Well, not everybody. Let's just say Jared or Rex want to pull out. Again, if that's what you want to use, I like you said, Adam, nobody was screaming and yelling saying we need to keep Elijah Molden. The kid was here 3.5 years, almost 4 years. I think it was. Let me make sure.
He was here for 3 seasons.
Yeah, he was here for 3 seasons. He missed all but 2 games his 2nd season. He came back. They moved him to safety. He made no impact in his 3 years here.
Last season, he, as the nearest defender, was targeted 35 times. He gave up 25 receptions for 306 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quarterbacks had a passer rating of 105.2 when targeting Elijah Molden last season.
Yeah, so it's just like one of these conversations that it's like, okay, so you want to prove your point, so you pick out 2 or 3 guys. Teair Tart, he wasn't going to be. Everybody knew Teair Tart was a good player. He was a good player here. It was just his attitude. So don't even add Teair Tart to it, because had Teair Tart attitude been better, Teair Tart would still be a Tennessee Titan. So you can't put Teair Tart in there. Who else is on there? The corner.
Fulton.
Fulton got his rear end toasted just about
Nobody
every other
wanted
time.
him back.
And he was hurt half the
Nobody
time.
wanted him
And
back.
nobody wanted him back. See, y'all doing this revisionist history stuff. Like, come on. Nobody was screaming and yelling, oh, we need him for depth. No, they were not. So just because he goes to another team and seems to have a little success, we deem, oh, they shouldn't have got rid of him. Or why does all Titan players that leave here do well? Not all of them, sir. Not all of them. Y'all are just cherry picking. Go down that line. Look at those players that I named out. They ain't doing a damn thing in this league. But y'all didn't bring up those players. Listen, this is the way it operates in the NFL, okay? Or in any other sport. If you don't show that you can play within a 3-year span, they are going to get rid of your ass. That's just the way it is. You may go to another team and you may develop and you may play well, but the 3 years you were here or 4 years you were here, you did not do the job adequately enough to earn you another contract. I don't see what people don't understand about that. They were not good here. They go someplace else. Yes, you might have a little bit more success, but does that mean now all of a sudden you're this A+ player or this B player? No, you're just playing a role that they want you to play, and you're playing it pretty good as of right now. You want to know the 2 interceptions? He had 2 interceptions against 2 of the worst quarterbacks in the National Football League. Okay,
Molden.
Yeah, Elijah Molden. Yeah, he had 2 interceptions. 2 of the 3 were against Cleveland and the Carolina Panthers.
So
2 of them.
Winston.
Winston.
Was it Young or Dalton?
Young.
Okay.
It was Young and Winston. A guy that does nothing but throw. He throws just as many interceptions as he does touchdowns. He'll throw 35 touchdowns, but he'll throw 35 interceptions as well. I love Jameis, though. I love it. But when you start to really look at it, he got an interception from a backup quarterback that throws just as many interceptions as touchdowns. And he got one from a guy that they benched. And the only reason they put him back in the game was because the guy, Dalton, got hurt.
And the other one, by the way. So you were right. He has an interception, Bolton does, against Bryce Young, an interception against Jameis Winston, and an interception against Bo Nix.
Again, when you put the information out there, give us all the information. Don't just give us half of the information. Oh, he's doing really well with the Chargers. He may be doing pretty good. But look at who they played when he decided that he was going to get an interception. One guy that throws just as many interceptions as touchdown, another guy that's a rookie, and another guy that's a second-year player that they benched. And the only reason he's playing is because Dalton got hurt. Where is this? I don't understand this love fest now with Elijah Molden. Do you understand it, Willie? Because I don't.
Willie, hold that thought. Willie, hold that thought. We will go to break. You have thoughts. We will go to break, and we will get Willie's thoughts on the other side. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Apparently Jared played the clip on his show. Let me see what he said.
The Iron Goddess Motorcycle Tour is headed to the Music City November 9th, this Saturday. Mark your calendar. Get your tickets to the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show here coming to the fairgrounds again. November 9th, this Saturday. Make sure you get your tickets because it's coming to the fairgrounds and you can't miss this. Female riders from all over the world will be in attendance. Come out and see some of these beautiful custom bikes, from choppers to mini bikes, from cruisers to sports bikes. All makes and models are encouraged to come. Get your tickets now at IronGoddessMotorcycleShow.com, which is sponsored by our friends over at Law Tigers. Enjoy a day of live music, vendor village, tasty foods, and so much more. Show off your bike in one of their many competitions and win cash prizes. All spectators are welcome, and kids under 16 are free with a paid ticket. So get your tickets today for the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show, which is coming to Nashville, the fairgrounds, November 9th, this Saturday. Go to the website. Again, it's irongoddessmotorcycleshow.com, which is sponsored by Law Tigers. Can't wait to see you there.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 1025, 063 the game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, talking Elijah Molden specifically. Now, during the break, I went back and listened to Jared versus Joe yesterday before we get to Willie's thoughts on this. because Jared said, I was upset about this trade. I screamed about this trade when it happened. Elijah Molden for a 7th round pick. So I pulled up the podcast and I played it for Derek because Jared got the clip from that day and had Ian play it. And Derek can attest to this. Jared said, paraphrasing, I don't think Elijah Molden is very good. I don't think he's a very good corner. I don't think he's a very good safety. I don't think he can tackle well. I don't think he can run fast. I don't think he's big. So Elijah Molden is bad at all the things that a corner or a safety needs to do. But this team needs depth, even if it's, according to Jared, not very good. So that was Jared's point. I think I'm going to call BS on that take. Willie, your thoughts?
Well, Elijah Molden makes $3.1 million. So that's something that Jared always jumps on as far as value for what you're getting. And I think Elijah Molden is, as Derek used the term, I completely agree. He is a role player. Elijah Molden makes more than Christian Fulton makes for the Chargers. So is there any difference between Elijah Molden and the guys that the Titans are using? No. Elijah Molden is an interchangeable part, a role player that, if used in the right spot, can be effective on a team that has Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Justin Herbert, Derwin James. It's been a nice fit. It is, and the Chargers are a good story. It's a team that is now probably overachieving.
And you forgot about Asante Samuel Jr. to it as well. They have him
absolutely, absolutely. This is a franchise that has constantly underachieved, right? And give them credit for picking out the right pieces for depth, but that's what they are, depth pieces. The problem with the Titans is not that they don't have Molden or Bud Dupree or any of these guys that we're talking about. It's that they don't have the frontline players that are making the impact and creating the matchup problems that make it easy for guys like Molden and other role players to do a job. So would the Titans record be any different with all of those guys? Pick whoever you want off of that list. If they're on the Titans, is it any different?
Let me ask you this question. If the Titans would not have traded Malik Willis, and Malik Willis would have had to play in the games that Mason Rudolph played, how much better do you think Malik Willis would have done?
No better. I mean, my thing is, would they have won those games? Probably not.
I understand the idea that, look, Malik Willis went to a situation in Green Bay with Matt LaFleur. They put together a game plan that accentuated his strengths and protected his weaknesses, and he's looked good. But, I mean, I don't think Malik Willis is playing himself into a starter's role in the NFL.
It's just revisionist history. It's just,
it happens in sports.
Exactly.
It happens in sports. I think, Jared, let's use the Braves. The Braves are his beloved team. Have they ever picked up a player from another team and he's done much better for the Braves than he did for his past team? I'm sure. It happens, and probably the reverse. We could probably go through year by year and find players that left the Braves when things weren't going all that great for the Braves and went to another team and did well. This is just part of sports. It's not like Derek said, it fits a narrative, but it's minimal what those guys are doing. Now, the exception is Malik Willis. I give that guy all kinds of credit. I don't know what his career is going to look like the next 3 to 5 years, but he's given himself a chance to stay in the league for a while. So that's more power to him. And if you want to put that on the Titans, I guess you can, but there was absolutely no thought of anybody who watched him for the Titans that he could be like this. So if you believe that somebody there should have had a crystal ball and magically could have seen how well he was going to do, more power to you.
615.
I don't have a crystal ball like that. I wish I did.
You might be able to find one down in Florida.
Yeah.
They got people that have them. I just don't know if they work. They'll sell them to you.
615-737-1025. We'll get back into the Predators and NHL with Elliot Freeman, Sportsnet's NHL insider, co-host of the 32 Thoughts podcast. He'll join us next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason, and you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds only to face disappointment. At Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and no one else. So connect with Dr. Lodge at Cool Springs MD today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D. Mace, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by Sportsnet, NHL Insider, Elliot Freeman, co-host of the 32 Thoughts podcast as well. Elliot, the comments that Barry Trotz made on this station a couple of days ago have crossed our northern border. They've been talked about quite a bit, not just here in Nashville. I've heard it talked about on Sportsnet many times. I know you've listened to that interview every week. You've said it. What are people around the league that you keep in touch with saying about those comments specifically made by Barry Trotz a few days ago?
Well, first of all, they're still saying it is the second best hockey hit of the week on your station. I want everyone to be well aware of that. I think that it just shows that more was expected, more was hoped for. Nobody is happy with where things really began. Barry has said on that hit previously that he's looking for a center, and a top six center is very hard to find. I don't think those are very easy things to do. One of the things I think, though, is I kind of got the impression that the way we're interpreting them is slightly off. Like, I don't think he's going to rip down the foundations and do a total rebuild. I don't think, like, some people kind of, and you guys tell me if you think I'm wrong about this, but the impression I got was that that's not what's on the table. It's simply going to be that some of the players who are in Milwaukee might get their chances sooner than expected.
Yes, I would agree with that.
No question. Like, it's not like he's ripping down the organization. But, the one thing I do think is that, number one, he's not afraid to be bold. So if something bold that he thinks makes sense dropped on his lap, I believe he would do it. But I don't know. I'm trying to look and see, like, who's that player that's available that solves his problem? And I'm not sure that I see an obvious path to that player at the 2C spot.
My question, Elliot, as well, is we know that in this particular league, coaches have short leashes when it comes to struggling. We saw last year what happened with the Edmonton Oilers. They started 2-9-1. They fired Jay Woodcroft when they were 3-9-1. Chris Knobloch comes in, best record in the league the rest of the way, within one win of winning the championship. Should we have any reason to believe that Andrew Burnett should, I'm not saying he's on the hot seat, but if he's on the burner, is it turned up to 1? Is it turned up to 2? Where should we see Andrew Burnett in all of this?
Well, I would say that, I did not get the impression that Andrew Burnett is in trouble. Barry Trotz was a coach. He understands coaching. I don't think that he's the kind of guy that's going to go out and say, all right, at the first hint of trouble, this guy's out. But I think there is a recognition that this isn't what anyone wanted. This isn't what anyone expected. And if things don't get better, I would say the burner can always become a little crispier, Adam. So, the thing about Trotz is he's a really good guest on your radio station. And I think sometimes it's as important to listen to tone as it is the actual words of what he's saying. And you guys know him. He's calm. He's measured. He doesn't fly off the handle. But what I am hearing is that he's a little bit exasperated. He's a little bit disappointed. This was a season of very high expectations. And, I keep a stat, okay? November 1st of every year, after games on November 1st, 4 or more points out of the playoffs. In full seasons in the salary cap era, there have been 70 teams who've been 4 or more points out of the playoffs on November 1st, and 10 have made it. And this year there were 2, Nashville and Chicago. Now, I think that the Predators are good enough. I look at their talent. I really like them. But there's no question that it's been disappointing. It's no question that everyone is struggling to find a spot at that number 2 center position behind Ryan O'Reilly. There's been too many games like that one the other night, not last night. I thought you guys actually played really hard and probably deserved a better fate, but more the Monday game against the Kings. Like you're out of runway for bad games now, and or performances that aren't acceptable now. And what I sensed was like a little bit of exasperation. Like I can't believe, almost like I can't believe we're in this position. And the longer that goes, the more the scrutiny and the spotlight and the heat gets put on everybody.
Elliot Friedman is with us. And Elliot, I think it's a good point that you make because I think you listen to most, if not all, of the interviews. I think it's so easy, especially in the world we live in, if somebody takes a sentence out of a Barry Trotz interview, and you know Barry Trotz well, he is going to give you lengthy, detailed, nuanced discussion. But if you pull one word, one sentence out there and it includes rebuild, then you're not really getting a full picture. It is like my English teacher, if I tried to read just the Cliff Notes, and then my teacher said, okay, here's the pop quiz, and I'm just going to tell you right now, if you read the Cliff Notes only, you're going to fail this quiz. There is something to reading the whole article or listening to a whole interview and not just taking one clip.
Well, Willie, you just explained why my high school grades were so bad.
Well, I was right along with you, I think.
I think that's true, and I think it's important. We live in a world right now where there's a lot of clickbait. There's a lot of give me one sentence or headline that can bring eyeballs to whatever it is I've done. And sometimes I'm as guilty about that as anybody else, but I really try to overcome it. And I really like the interview Barry does on your station. I've told you guys before. I think that the Nashville hockey fans are well served by it. There's not a lot. Like it used to be that every GM in every city had a weekly interview on some radio station, whether it was a sports station or somewhere else. It was normal. Now that's the exception rather than the rule. Unfortunate for us all in a lot of different places, but very fortunate for the hockey fans of Nashville. And I think that Trotz gives you a real window into what he's thinking. But as you said, he's a deep guy. He's a thoughtful guy. And you better be willing to listen to more than one sentence with him. Like that's the thing. Like I saw his quotes and I was like, wow, that's really something. And then I went and I listened to it and I was like, it's not really what he's saying here. But I think it's important to recognize that this is a guy who is trying to do something. The problem is what he's trying to do is one of the hardest things in the NHL to do, find a top 6 center.
I would grant you, Elliot, that they've got a lot of things to fix. Adam and I have debated about the stat that you throw out there, the November 1st, because I think the Predators would have been, I think you just said it, they were 31st or something last year at 5-10. And then we know what happened after that. They figured some stuff out.
That was earlier, but yes, I do remember that. Yes.
Yeah, but you can't. So you never know what's going to happen, and it's not a good place to be. I think we all agree on that. They have a lot to deal with here. But I guess one of the things I wonder about that stat is how many of those teams going into the season had playoff expectations, and how many are maybe taken off the top as teams that you kind of know were rebuilding and had no chance to begin with, or I don't want to say tanking because Gary Bettman might get mad at me, but there are teams that kind of go in knowing they're not going to make it, and they're probably in that club of teams that are 4 or more points out on November 1st.
Well, I would say that, first of all, I don't have a problem with using tanking. The commissioner's mad at me all the time, so I don't mind doing that. I think this. I think that there have been teams like Edmonton was one of those teams last year, and they came back and they still made it. I remember there was a year where Anaheim was really good, or supposed to be, and they had a really bad start, and they came back and they made it. I would say the vast majority of them are bad teams, Willie, but still, like if you fall apart there, it's hard because of the loser point. It's really hard to catch up in this league. There's no other league that rewards overtime losses like this. Baseball doesn't do it. The NBA doesn't do it. I mean, you saw the look on Baker Mayfield's face the other night when they lost the coin flip to the Chiefs. Like he knew what it meant. And so that makes it harder to catch. And the more teams that you get between you and that spot, the more trouble it is. I think the Predators are still good enough. By no means do I think that their season is over, but they've dug a hole, and you can sense Trotz's disappointment for it. Now, one thing I've been kind of curious about is that one of the successes that the Predators have had in the last year was, Andrew Brunette asked Yossi to, pass the puck up more or headman the puck up more as opposed to carrying it. And I couldn't watch last night because I was doing a charity event, but I heard you guys played better. One of the things I've kind of wondered about is there any chance they kind of go back to that a little bit, where maybe to get things going while things are struggling, they kind of give Yossi a little bit more freedom. I'm curious to see if you have seen any of that.
I haven't. I think one of the things that is going on is I think that Brady Shea is going through what Roman Josi went through last year. And on top of that, playing with Roman Josi in and of itself,
it's different.
I think is different, right? I think those two are still figuring each other out. And Brady Shea is trying to play a completely different system than he did with Carolina. And Elliot, as you know, that's a unique system as well. And he's played in that for a long time.
I'd also throw in the partner that Brady Shea played with in Carolina for the past several years, Brett Pesce, is probably the antithesis of Roman Josi as a player when you think about the way they approach the game.
So I would say, Elliot, that's a big issue as to why they're struggling a lot 5-on-5 but they do believe that over time, and hopefully they won't run out of time, that they will get through, just like Roman Josi busted through last year and had a great year. They believe that Shea and Josi will get it on the same page and they will be better for it.
Well, I agree with that. And the other thing too is, because it's your captain and your franchise player and your top defensive signing who you signed for a few years, you have to be committed to it. Like that's like one of the big challenges a team faces when it's going through what the Predators are going through is that, you all of a sudden you're losing, you're falling behind, the pressure's mounting, and you run out of patience. You're like, we have to stop with this. We have to try something else. And the challenge with that is you sign Shea for this specific reason, and you have to be committed to letting him figure it out. And I think there is something to be admired by the Predators kind of sticking with it, because I think a lot of other teams might have said, we got to do something else here. And you're committed to it, so you do have to stay with figuring it out. But that was the other thing I wanted. I went back to one of my columns last year where Brunette talked about what Josi was asked to do differently. And it's another one of those things that worked for you guys last year, but sometimes I think, okay, we're struggling this year. What do we have to change? And do we go back to that? And I guess it's not happened yet. And maybe it won't happen. Maybe they say, no, this is still the right thing to do. But as you know, guys, desperate times sometimes call for desperate measures.
Yep, it is a big topic. And Stamkos and Marchessault, along with Shea, are all trying to find themselves here. And they have not figured it out yet. So, Elliot, I do want to ask about the another goaltender.
I got your text.
Okay.
I got your text.
And I don't know if you had a chance to go back and research it.
I did.
I hear you guys talking about on your podcast on 32 Thoughts a lot about
Yeah.
goaltender interference, and it's never going to be perfect. We all know that you're never going to have everybody satisfied. But there were a couple of things that I thought were interesting. It's a unique play last night.
Yes.
It starts by saying the puck goes in the net, and they decide on the ice it's no goal. And I know you guys talk about that a lot of really should that ever not there are times where it's obvious, but if it's not obvious, shouldn't the call on the ice be a goal? And then let's go figure out if it's not a goal. So let's start with that.
I can't start with that because first of all, when I saw the play last night, like I said, I was at a fundraiser last night, so I couldn't watch the game live. But when I got your text, Willie, that War and Peace that you sent me last night, I immediately went and I went to the game and I turned it on my app and I started looking through it and I was like, oh boy. And I'll say this: this has been a crazy week for review. There was that play in Colorado, Seattle, which I've never seen before, and ultimately they got that one right, but the process wasn't very good. There was the goal that was allowed to stand in Winnipeg, Tampa, which I really disagreed with. I disagreed with that one a lot. And when I first saw the one in your game last night, I thought it should have counted. I thought it should have been a goal. And the one thing too is if it's a guy's first NHL goal too, and that was supposed to be his first NHL goal, like I really think it should be a goal. Like if you think you scored, I feel terrible for a guy who loses it. The one thing I was reminded about this week is that when video review came in, the standard that the commissioner asked for was only change it if you're dead wrong. And I've heard that everybody's been kind of reminded about that. And I guess, and still, like I said, Willie, I think that should have been a goal. I do. I guess they felt that it wasn't dead wrong. Now, I think the point you make is interesting because I do think the league wants goals. You don't want to be taking goals off. And maybe that's an interesting theory to do. But if you're a referee and you're wired and told, make the call you see, and they're told, don't guess. If you're not sure, don't call it because that leads to embarrassment. Make the call you see. And if you see no goal, then you have to make that call.
But they didn't make a call. They also
eventually they have to make a call. They said no goal, right?
Well, after huddling up, they blew the whistle, and the ref standing on the net doesn't really say it's in, doesn't really say no goal. They huddle up and say no goal. And what I found out today is they told the Predator bench they thought Marchessault pushed Logan Thompson, the goalie, into the crease or pushed him back across the goal line. But when they came out with no goal, the explanation from the league's email said that it was Del Gaizo that impeded his ability to play his position. So that's another question I always have is if you're making a call of no goal and you say it's Marchessault, and then you go in and you're going to turn around and say it was Del Gaizo, then something's wrong with that too.
Yes, there is something wrong with that. Like I said, I looked at that and I thought that should have been a goal. Now, one thing I think that's gone on is this has been a really bananas week, and the general managers meet next week in Toronto. It's not their big meeting. It's a short meeting. It's like a 3-hour meeting. And I do think all of this is going to come up. I do think there's going to be a conversation about video review and where it is and where they want it to go. And so I really work hard at trying to understand these calls. I have spent way between the Winnipeg one and the Colorado Seattle one and the Islander one and this one this week. I have spent way too much time on the phone with people who do not want to talk to me. And I think that the end of it, like I said, I thought your goal should have been a goal. And I think at the end of the day, this is going to be a big conversation next week about where we are and where we're going.
Elliot Freeman, Sportsnet NHL insider, co-host of the 32 Thoughts podcast, joining us on D-Mays, Vingan, and Donick. Elliot, great stuff as always. We'll chat next week.
All right, guys, take care. Where's D-Mace this week? Where's he?
Hey, I'm here, Adam. Not
I'm
Adam.
here.
Yes, Adam's on the air. Elliot, I'm here.
I was wondering, did I put you to sleep? Were you back in Cancun? Like, what's going on?
No, I was listening intently.
He was listening intently.
I'm just making sure, D-Mace. I always get sad when I don't hear from you. My life is complete. So I just like to make sure you're all good.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
He'll give you a call after the show, okay?
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great day.
Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet joining us, 615-737-1025. Coming up next, the Titans aren't the only bad team in the NFL. And we talk a lot about parity in the NFL, but it's been a long time since the NFL has seen parity.
Do I have something?
Oh, let's talk about League Company. Yes, that's my cue. League Company, of course, is a proud sponsor of our Predator coverage, which resumes tonight in South Florida. The Predators play the defending Stanley Cup champion tonight, the Florida Panthers. So a tough matchup. And we'll have the coverage starting at 5 o'clock here on 102.5 The Game. And League Company has got your back when it comes to all the services you need in your home: heating, plumbing, air conditioning, and, of course, your electrical system. Just give them a call and build that year-long relationship. Get those annual checkups. It's the best way to stay on top of things. 615-567-1000 or leaguecompany.com. That's 615-567-1000 or leaguecompany.com. Also, if you're at work and you have a maintenance issue, just always keep that number and that website in mind, because you never know when you're going to need it. And if you don't have your own maintenance department, it's nice to be able to know that just a phone call or an online appointment can get you where you need to go. The problem is taken care of, and you can get to watching the Predators play tonight, or your favorite football team, or whatever the things you need to do get done. League Company, proud sponsor Nashville Predators, service in our listening area since 1944.
You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Tune into 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville this Saturday for MTSU football. The Blue Raiders will take on Liberty at home. Pregame starts at 10:30 and kickoff is at 12. MTSU football coverage on 93.3 FM Totally Hits Nashville is presented by Sloan's Motorcycle ATV. Also, tune into 94.9 The Fan this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. for our college football game of the week, Alabama versus LSU. Presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants. Take your tailgate to Twin Peaks, home of 29-degree drafts and wall-to-wall sports. Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, and Willie Donick here with you. So the Titans are bad. We all know that. But the Titans have a lot of company in being bad.
Mhm.
In fact, there are 9 teams in the NFL with 2 wins. Other than the Titans, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Panthers, the Jaguars, the Raiders, the Saints, the Patriots, and the Giants.
It's a lot of bad teams.
A lot of bad teams. In fact, according to ESPN, there are 9 teams with 2 or fewer wins this season, which is tied for the most through week 9 since the 1970 merger. There were 9 teams with 2 or fewer wins through week 9 in 2006. So we talk a lot about parity in the NFL. I don't think this is what they meant when you had 9 teams with 2 wins. What do you make of that? And what do all of those teams have in common? Willie, why don't you go first?
I think you could probably trace it back to the QB, the person
You
who
certainly
takes the snap.
could.
Yeah.
You take the person who takes the snap initially on every play when you have the ball. I am curious how many of those teams play each other because some of it will shake out. Because I don't look around and I think the league is more top heavy. I still don't think there are a lot of maybe a little bit more than the average year that there's more teams in position to make a run for the playoffs than there are sometimes. I still think probably when we get to it, there'll be a team that's pretty mediocre that grabs that last wild card. But yeah, I think the numbers are what they say. I am curious. Like, you'd hate to, if you're going to finish 4-13, you might as well have the top 4 pick. But the problem is, if that holds to some degree, you could, you'd hate to go 4-13 and pick 8th or 9th.
So, by the way, we know that the Titans and Jaguars have yet to play each other this season. So those are 2 games against a 2-6 Titans team and a 2-7 Jaguars team, at least for now. The Saints and the Panthers have already played each other twice. The Saints won at the beginning of the season. The Panthers just beat the Saints, and the Saints fired their coach. So we do know that there are going to be some of these games between these teams, but 9 teams with 2 wins, Derek. It's ugly out there.
You look at it. The most surprising one, obviously, to me is Miami, but we know why Miami is pretty much in the predicament they're in. They, their quarterback missed 5 games because of concussion, and that offense never looked the same. Now it sort of got back into form last week with Tua, but they still end up, I think, losing that game. So outside of Miami, because they do believe they had their franchise quarterback, New England, even though, you look at Drake May and say, yeah, but he's still a young guy. He's still feeling his way, and he doesn't have any talent around him. Cleveland, it just seems like they have a lot of talent, but no chemistry with them. The Raiders don't have their quarterbacks. Titans don't have their quarterbacks. So if you start looking at these teams, like Willie said, the common denominator is either you don't have a quarterback or your quarterback is young. So you just wonder how it's all going to shake out at the end of the season. So there's still a lot of parity in this league, I think, because even with the bad teams, the games are not blowouts. Look at the Titans, and listen, we chronicled half of their season already, the close losses they had, all but the Lions game, and you can kind of put that one aside, but every other game thus far has been a close game. So even though they don't have a quarterback per se, they are managing to keep the games close. So the league is getting exactly what they want, whether it be parity at the top or parity at the bottom. You still have teams with 2 wins or 3 wins that believe they can go on a run and put themselves in a position to make the playoffs. Because I do believe there's going to be a team that make the playoffs, with a 9-win record. So these teams that seem to be out of it, there may be one or two that still has an outside chance at putting themselves in a position to ultimately make the playoffs with the last 2 games of the season, sort of as the, win. We got to win. It must win type games.
One team that certainly has no questions at quarterback is the Los Angeles Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert has had a 90-plus passer rating in all 8 games this season. That is the longest streak of starts with a 90-plus passer rating by any quarterback to begin a season since Phillip Rivers in 2018. Was Phillip Rivers what was Phillip Rivers still with the Chargers in 2018?
Or did he come? Yeah, because after that he came.
Yes, he was.
Didn't he come here?
He went to Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, yeah, not here in Indianapolis.
He went to Indianapolis for a year. So I guess it's something. There's something about Chargers quarterbacks and starting the season off well. But Justin Herbert, no such issues, as we've been discussing with these other teams.
I find that interesting in this way. That first of all, Justin Herbert is doing this with a bad foot, right? He's had the plantar fasciitis, so and that is affected him. He's also had I forget what happened with his non-throwing hand that got messed up too, but he's played through some stuff. But he's always had the talent, right? He has got eye-popping arm strength and impressiveness, and his team hasn't put it together. So what did Jim Harbaugh do? He didn't go out and get 3 new wide receivers and, et cetera. He went the other way. He said, I'm going to make Justin Herbert better by giving him a better running game and a better offensive line. And that has worked really, really well for him. Like they got rid of some of their wide receivers, right?
Yeah.
And they got rid of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Right. And they're better.
And their top receiver is a rookie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey has been a nice pickup. I didn't know how good he would be. That's a great eye for talent. And where was McConkey picked? Was he a first round? He wasn't a first.
He was
round
a second. He was an early second
pick.
round pick. He was the 34th pick in the draft.
So there's a hit right there on a second round pick. But it's not like they're lighting it up by throwing the ball 35 or 40 times, right? They're running the heck out of it, and then a talented quarterback is in good situations to connect. So it's an interesting philosophy to learn from.
Matthew on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com about the 9 teams with 2 wins. What those teams all have in common. 3 things. 1, bad quarterbacks. 2, impulsive/bad owner. Or 3, bad front office.
Well, there could be that could be the case. Outside of possibly Carolina, because it's sort of like in your face because they had the number 1 pick in the draft last year and Bryce Young, and it seems to not be working out with him. So they're going to be more in the spotlight. So you can look at Carolina, whether they had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, now Bryce Young, Andy Dalton. It just seems like no matter who's come through there, they haven't had a quarterback that has played consistent good football. But then you see guys like Baker Mayfield leave, and he has, a better sort of year with Tampa. Then you see Sam Darnold leave, and he has a better year, by way of San Francisco, but he has a better year with the Minnesota Vikings. So, yeah, that would tend to say, along with everything else that has gone on with the Carolina Panthers, trading away, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, all this other stuff. Yeah, they wouldn't be the poster child for good organizations. They would be a poster child for more bad organizations. But the other organization, I don't know if they, outside of the quarterback, I don't know if they're a good organization or not.
I mean, I can speak to the Saints as a Saints fan.
Mm-hmm.
Gail Benson, who owns the Saints, I wouldn't consider her a bad owner.
Mm-hmm.
I would think of it similarly to Amy Adams Strunk. When the Titans were winning, people thought Amy Adams Strunk was a great owner.
Exactly.
Then they start losing, and all of a sudden you're worried about the ownership. I mean, Mickey Loomis has been the general manager of the Saints for God knows how long now. And he boxed them into a corner, no doubt about it. We talked about that earlier this week. And you saw the beginning of the fire sale with Marshawn Lattimore being traded to the Commanders at the trade deadline. But when you look at those other teams, you see the Giants. That's the Mara family, correct? The Mara family owns the Giants, and David Tepper and Carolina, and let's see who else is it. Is it Mark Davis with the Raiders?
Yes, Mark Davis.
Yeah. Shad Khan with the Jaguars, the Haslam family with the Browns. Was it? Is it? Is it Stephen Ross? Is he the owner of the Dolphins? Is that the right name?
I believe so.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I don't think anybody would consider Robert Kraft a bad owner.
No.
So, I mean, I think the issue with owners is, look, some of those owners I mentioned.
Yeah, some of them you could say
pretty bad.
Yeah, but for the most part, I think the Dolphins are winning. They've been a winning organization the last couple of years, so you can't say entirely their owner is bad. Now he's done some things, you know, he's like, dude, why would you do that? In regards to asking, you know, apparently, or asking Coach Flores to, you know, allegedly throw games. So you can't be an owner and be doing that, you know, so you can use that as a mark against them. But they've been a winning franchise the last couple of years prior to this season, and we know why they were not winning now, because of the quarterback situation, him being hurt. But some of these other owners you named off, you know, the Mara family, they've won Super Bowls. They've been a model organization, you know. So some don't have a quarterback, but that doesn't mean that they're, or you know, that the owner or the front office is bad. They just hadn't found their quarterback. And some, like the Carolina Panthers, or like you said, New Orleans Saints, even though their owner isn't bad, but because of the GM put them in a box, you know, boxed them in, now they're not a good team, and it's showing because they don't have too many good players. They just traded away one of their best players in Marshawn Lattimore, you know, because they're trying to get out of this sort of hole that they've dug themselves in. So every team, just because they're bad, don't mean that the ownership is bad. A lot of times it's just you don't have that quarterback.
So Jared,
Or right tackle.
Jared
Yeah,
has
or right
chimed.
tackle,
Jared
yes.
has chimed in. He quote tweeted this segment on the 1025 The Game Twitter and said, because they don't have a right tackle. Now, I can't speak to the right tackle situation of every team that has 2 wins in the NFL.
Exactly.
I do know, however, because I've heard this name shoved through my eardrums, the starting right tackle for the New York Giants is Jermaine Illuminor, who Jared has lusted after.
How well are they doing?
How many wins,
Exactly.
Jared, do the Giants have with that starting right tackle?
Can they run a
2.
football?
2. I know it well.
Can they run a
Not pick the
football?
Giants.
No, not really. They can't run a football. Not really.
1-5-737-1025. We'll wrap up the show next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063. The Game. Look at those coastal cheerleaders. Hot diggity dog. Look at that one right there. Look at that. Look at this. They got some nice cheerleaders down there. They got some nice cheerleaders down there.
It's never too late to start thinking about the big game. And this November, it's already started. We're, you know, almost a weekend. Well, we are a weekend. Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee, has launched a brand new sweepstakes for all its Tennessee customers. The Big Game Sweepstakes, where you could win a grand prize of 2 tickets to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, or $10,000 cash. And what's more is Zen Sports will also award 50 additional prizes, which include 2 tickets to any Tennessee sporting event or $100 cash. Want it all? Want in on the action? You can earn multiple entries every day just by betting on Zen Sports on the Zen Sports app. And for every bet you place, you will earn 1 entry. And for every dollar you bet, earn an additional entry, like parlays. Earn double the entries on every parlay place, okay? So what are you waiting for? When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to $100, no danger first wager. If you lose, if your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. So start betting with Zen Sports and download their app today. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
D. Mays, Vingan, and Donick, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company coming up next here. I'm sure Jared will have some thoughts on the Titans. He called yesterday a big game for the Predators. He doesn't break out the big game very often. The Predators fall 3-2 to the Washington Capitals. They're back in action tonight, as Willie said, against the defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers. Willie, have we any word on the statuses of Colton Sissons and Tommy Novak for tonight's game?
Definitely up in the air. Do not know. But it doesn't look good, I think, for either one, especially given it's a back-to-back. I would say that's just me speculating. I don't know, but it would not surprise me if they didn't have either one in there tonight, which leaves, that's two less centers on a team that is, obviously, based on what you hear from the GM, not satisfied with what they're getting from their centers. And you're playing the defending Stanley Cup champs,
who have a lot of really good centers.
A lot of really good centers, four, really, when you get down to it. So this is a tough matchup, which is, I didn't hear what Jared's reasoning was for last night being a big game, but I think probably had to do with the fact that the back end of the back-to-back is a rested Florida Panther team.
And it was also just because of what Barry said and the team needing to get back on the right track.
Yeah. And I think the team played pretty inspired last night. I didn't have any problem with the way they battled. I think they didn't catch any breaks. I thought it was poorly managed. This is just my opinion, and yeah, I'm looking at it through Nashville's lens. But I just think that they botched that goaltender interference, and they also hit four different players hit the post in the second period alone, and Juuso Parssinen hit both posts. So they're not. I think. And I asked Barry Trotz at the end of the second period, I said, are the Predators leading the league in hitting the post? And he says he believes that is the case. So I do think that they will start getting more bounces eventually. But still, there's some things that they've got to get right that didn't get a ton better last night. And we mentioned it while Elliot was on. The Roman Josi-Brady Shea pair is still struggling to find the chemistry. They're not the great individual performances that both of those guys have in them, and it needs to happen sooner than later. But there were a lot of positives from last night. I thought Phil Tomasino played a really good game. Zach LaRue is playing well. Mark Del Gaizo. So three young players that I think are making some strides. But at the end of the day, they still need, the big guns to carry their weight.
Like Al Davis say, just win, baby, win. I don't want to hear about all that other stuff.
Just win, baby.
Yeah, just win and start to build momentum and let the rest take care of itself. So
quickly, Willie, if Colton Sissons and Tommy Novak are unavailable, I know there are players on the team who can shift to center, but should we expect at least one call up from the American League?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark Jankowski is a center, so he could play. They would still have four centers.
Okay.
Well,
I think if that's the case,
don't be expecting
they don't have the roster spots to make a move.
That's true
right now.
That's true.
They're at 23, so they'd have to send somebody down. And it's a back-to-back situation, so there will not be a roster move for tonight's game.
Well, you got to play with the guys that came to the dance with you. So ain't no bringing nobody else.
Yep.
Oh no, by the way, Jared, the guy that you wanted, the right tackle that you wanted,
Jermaine Illuminor. Yes.
Illuminor.
I know more about him than I ever need to know.
And I know, listen, PFF isn't the end all be all, but he's basically a D student right now, trending toward an F student. So that guy that you wanted isn't playing well either. Now, granted, Nicholas isn't playing well. He's at an F. Leroy Watson isn't playing well. He's at an F. But an F or a D, you ain't passing. It ain't good enough. So you have Illuminor, it still would have been the same Tennessee Titan team.
I guess
Thank you for illuminating us.
Yes,
exactly.
Willie just stole my pun. That's exactly what I was about to say. Oh man. Okay. Well, Willie, we will see you tonight. We will see you tonight on FanDuel Sports Network. Predators and Panthers puck drop at 6. Pregame starts at 5 right here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Stillman and Company coming up next.
Be loved, love on your people. Have a wonderful and blessed Thursday. Take care of yourself and peace.